With a remarkable ability to effectively thwart Ukraine's counteroffensive, the Russian-made Ka-52 helicopter has demonstrated its immense value on the modern battlefield. But in June 2023, it showcased exceptional survivability that mesmerized millions of spectators online. A captivating video recently emerged on social media, capturing a breathtaking moment of a Ka-52 helicopter navigating at a low altitude. Astonishingly, the aircraft's tail appeared torn apart, with remnants of the vertical fin hanging precariously. In the face of such severe damage, a post-landing photograph depicted the twisting tail section of the helicopter, bent beyond a 90-degree angle, yet remaining intact, to the surprise of many. However, as extraordinary as the feat was, military analysts took the matter into their own hands to reveal the truth behind the fascinating event. Breakdown. In the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine, in mid-2023, a group of bloggers and propagandists with pro-Kremlin leanings eagerly shared a video depicting an incident that quickly spread through the internet, fueling the interest of military enthusiasts across the globe. On June 19th, the rather alarming but nonetheless fascinating sight showed an example of the prominent Russian Kamov Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter flying at a low altitude, its tail visibly torn apart following a presumed in-flight breakup as the remains of a vertical fin dangled from the rear. The video was probably shot from the cockpit of the helicopter's wingman or another companion, with the Black Sea coastline in the background. At first, various Telegram channels sympathetic to the Russian cause reported that the damage to the Ka-52 was a result of a mishap involving the dumping of external stores, and particularly the additional fuel tanks. As these accounts suggest, the crew's choice to jettison the tanks ultimately caused greater damage. Apparently, one of the fuel tanks followed an unfortunate trajectory and was thrown back into the slipstream, subsequently impacting the tail assembly. Admittedly, the footage does not offer a definitive answer. Still, in addition to the smashed tail, several items can be seen falling away from the vehicle, and military enthusiasts online have made sure to point out items being jettisoned from the helicopter, implying a possible cause for the wreck. In turn, this fact may be indicative of an issue regarding the tail before the decision to jettison the stores. And while it is plausible that the Ka-52 may have been targeted by Ukrainian air defenses, it's evident that the damage inflicted was not substantial enough to cause it to become inoperable, let alone crash. Still, the reality behind the incident was soon to be revealed. A unique arrangement. Certainly, poor separation of stores can have dangerous consequences for an aircraft. But in this distinct situation, as military analyst Thomas Nedwick explained, it appears that the helicopter's front end had also suffered damage, potentially with the windshield being torn off or part of the forward fuselage missing. There are a couple of possible explanations for the damage, according to Nedwick. One possibility is that the Ka-52 helicopter was targeted by Ukrainian air defenses, resulting in a hit on the airframe. Given that the damage wasn't severe enough to bring the helicopter down, the crew of the attack helicopter can be thankful for the design of their aircraft. One notable feature of the Ka-52 is its unique coaxial main rotor arrangement, which eliminates the need for a tail rotor. In most other helicopters, damage to the tail assembly would be a grave concern. A conventional helicopter has a tail rotor at the end of the tail boom, which is responsible for countering the torque generated by the main rotor. If the tail rotor fails, the helicopter starts spinning in the opposite direction of the main rotor. In the best-case scenario, the pilot can initiate an auto-rotation and perform an emergency landing. However, in the worst case, it could lead to a crash or even a mid-air breakup. The chances of recovery diminish the lower and slower the helicopter is flying when it loses the tail rotor. All things considered, the use of a coaxial main rotor system is highly advantageous for an attack helicopter, especially because it often operates at low altitudes and slower speeds. In this configuration, there are two sets of main rotors, one positioned above the other, with each rotor spinning in a different direction. This design choice is commonly associated with the naval helicopter designs from the Kamov Design Bureau, but it has also been incorporated into the primarily land-based Ka-50 and 52 series. While the coaxial main rotor system offers significant benefits, it is not without its trade-offs. Nevertheless, the Kamoff Design Bureau has opted to retain this configuration due to its advantages. Degrees of success. The Ka-52 helicopters possess unique features to enhance the safety of the crew, including a crew rescue system. While often referred to as ejection seats, the Ka-52 actually employs a crew extraction system instead of traditional ejection seats that rely on rockets to forcefully eject the seats from the cockpit. Thomas Nedwick clarified that in the case of the Ka-52, the crew extraction process begins by jettisoning the main rotor blades through the use of explosive bolts. Following this, the cockpit canopy glass is discarded, and 2 rocket assemblies are launched from the cockpit. Each rocket assembly is connected to one of the Zvezda Tomolino K-37-800M seats by a lanyard. The seats are then pulled out of the cockpit, and a parachute is deployed to ensure a safe descent. This extraction system can be operated at speeds ranging from 0 to 189 knots, even at ground level. During the conflict in Ukraine, there have been relatively few confirmed instances of Ka-52 crews utilizing the extraction system. However, considering the number of losses experienced, it is likely that the system has been employed on various undocumented occasions with varying degrees of success. The exact reasons for a Ka-52 helicopter flying over Ukraine with significant damage to its tail assembly remain uncertain. Nevertheless, Nedwick said with reasonable certainty that if the crew had been flying a different helicopter model, their chances of returning safely to their base would have been significantly diminished. Key details. As the narrative developed, the pro-Russian channels altered their stance and claimed that the attack helicopter had actually been struck by an air defense missile and still managed to make a daring return to its airfield, despite the substantial harm it had sustained. Meanwhile, astute military analysts couldn't help but notice some key details in the video. Specifically, they observed that several drop tanks and rocket pods could be seen detaching from the Ka-52 right at the beginning of the footage, and to their surprise, the helicopter was still armed with anti-tank missiles. Furthermore, the visible presence of the Black Sea coastline at the video's outset served as confirmation that the helicopter had incurred damage even before it had entered the combat zone, and was probably near the airfield, close to the occupied town of Berdyansk. Harsh realities. Soon after the video was posted, a photograph emerged, capturing the aircraft after it had safely landed. The image showcased a twisted section of the empennage, the tail assembly, rotated to a jarring angle of over 90 degrees. Unsurprisingly, however, there were no visible signs of the typical damage that would be associated with an anti-aircraft missile striking a helicopter. The cause of this in-flight breakup of the Ka-52 attack helicopter was eventually revealed to be the result of unexpected and severe vibrations experienced by the aircraft as it struggled to achieve the necessary speed and altitude. The harsh realities of warfare in Ukraine provided ample evidence that the Ka-52 helicopter was highly susceptible to excessive vibrations, leading to mechanical failures and induced fatigue. Countless photos and videos circulating on social media served as proof of the diverse array of damage inflicted upon Ka-52 helicopters due to the relentless vibrations experienced during takeoff and landing. These Russian combat helicopters were losing their landing gear fairings and developed cracks in the wings that bore the weight of their primary armament. It was a troubling revelation that raised concerns about the long-term viability and effectiveness of these aircraft in combat situations. We're thrilled to have you here for this adventure. If you're a fan of military history, subscribe now to Dark Footage to join our community, and don't miss out on the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels. Make sure to leave a like and activate the notification bell to receive our latest content. As always, thank you for watching, and stay tuned.